Persona 5 Tactica is a fun game, but it's extremely frustrating, and not for the reasons you may think it would be. In my opinion, the PC port is... I wouldn't call it bad, because it runs well, right? I'm on a 1070, and I'm getting northward of 130 FPS in-game at 1440. Like, it runs well, but everything outside of the frame rate is kind of garbage. The story so far is kind of whatever, feels kind of patchwork, and just thrown together to give us an excuse to play the game, which, if the game's really fun and the new characters are great, I don't mind that. And so far, I'm having a decent enough time, so it's not like the biggest sticking point for me ever. The gameplay does kind of start slow, but it picks up, and I would say that I'm really enjoying the gameplay so far. Progression could be a bit of a sticking point later on. I liked the idea of the talent tree, but once you actually dig into the thing, it's rather simplistic in a lot of ways. Like, do you want your main attack to do big AoE but less damage, or more damage but smaller AoE? There's a few choices there, but nothing that's really gonna blow my pants off, you know? And in terms of the overall progression of the game, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think one of the things Persona 5 especially has always done well, at least so far, is incorporate Persona mechanics in Persona 5 unique mechanics into its spin-offs. I was a massive fan of Strikers, and the way that it was able to blend the Persona formula with the warrior style of combat, and they're doing something similar here with tactics. And in terms of that so far, I am cautiously optimistic. Now this PC port. Again, I am playing on the PC, and it's not even necessarily just a PC port issue that I have. It's like so many design choices surrounding this game leave me baffled as to their sheer stupidity. So windowless borderless window mode, normally what that means is you can move the cursor outside of the window and the game doesn't minimize. But here it does, and I don't understand why. Like, maybe it's something that can be just fixed in a patch, I imagine it will, but it reeks of someone who didn't do any QA here. And then you have the actual controls on mouse and keyboard, because it was a grid-based game, so I'm like, oh, that's going to be intuitive with a mouse and keyboard, because I can just click on the square that I would want to move to. Unless that's a toggle in the options menu, you just can't do that. You have to use WASD to move your characters around, and I, J, K, and L to move the camera. Not the mouse, by the way. And it feels like when they designed the control scheme for this game, they designed it so you would be using the keyboard for the vast majority of your experience. And if you want that as an option, sure, but I don't see why this couldn't be a mouse thing. And I don't see why movement couldn't be just point and click when the game is based upon squares. It's on a grid, it's a tactics game. I just don't understand the thought process here. Okay, so I did a little bit more testing on this, and it's even dumber than you may think. There are keybinds to bind the camera movement and overall character movement to the mouse. The problem is, you can't bind it to the mouse movement. At least nothing that I did worked. So I'm not entirely sure what these keybinds even exist for. And then I tried to rebind I, J, K, and L to not be, moving the camera. I would prefer those to be on arrow if I had to. But when you go to change the keybind, it even says that some keybinds are not available. I don't know why. It's a keyboard, who cares? And I physically was not able to rebind camera movement from I, J, K, and L to the arrow up, down, left, and right keys. And I don't know why they did this. So yeah, my recommendation, just use the controller. Just use the gamepad and rid yourself of this massive headache. And then it's like the little things where in the menu, if you change an option, you back out and hit escape. Normally, most games will throw up a screen saying, hey, you have unsaved changes, do you want to save these and apply? In Tactica, though, what it does is say, hey, you have unsaved changes, do you want to cancel them? Which is the polar opposite of muscle memory that I have for pretty much every other game that I've ever played on PC. Is it like the worst thing ever? No. I mean, my control issues get remedied immediately when I just swapped over to my Xbox controller, but it's just like the little things where, it's like, why was it like this to begin with? What was the idea? What was the boardroom discussion like when they came up with the control scheme on mouse and keyboard for this game? Because I just want to know. Because it feels like it was just slapped together with the assumption that most people would just play this game with controller. And another thing, is it just me? I cannot find the options menu when I'm in the middle of a dialogue section. I have to be either in the game, like in gameplay, or have to be in the hideout to have the privilege of opening the options menu. So if you want to retool some audio options or even save your game, you gotta wait, and I don't understand why they did that. Like I said, it's a bunch of little things about this PC port that just feel so unintuitive for no reason whatsoever. And I don't understand why it's like this. And the only thing that I can draw it up to is that they just wanted to get this game out the door and didn't really care about the little details like that. I don't think any of these individual things are necessarily game-breaking. Like, don't get me wrong on this, like, I'm still going to almost certainly enjoy the game. I'm gonna beat the game as well. It's just, it leaves me leaning back in my chair, scratching my head, and wondering why is it like this? And it's kind of funny because normally when we get a bad PC port, the frame rate is also compromised, especially on older hardware like my own. But it runs buttery smooth. I haven't had any issues in that regard. And while the art style is kind of off-putting for a lot of people, myself included to some degree, the actual environments and the lighting in the game are really nice. And to me, the VO and the music has been a standout. I wouldn't say it's my favorite P5 soundtrack of all time, but I do like it. It's still P5 music, largely. And one of the missions, they had this like new, unique song that was playing. Oh my god, it was so good. At least I think it was a new song. It may not have been, but to me, I never really heard it before. And I loved that song. It was so good. It was one of the earlier missions. But yeah, Persona 5 Tactica feels like a really good game just gift-wrapped in a confusing mess. Like if you get a Christmas present, right? Like a birthday gift. And the gift itself is pretty dang good. You like it, you wanted it, and you got what you wanted. But like the gift wrap feels like someone just got it from the side of the street and it's like covered in muck. Like you could just remove it and like clean off the gift a little bit, but you're just wondering, why was it like that to begin with? Shouldn't you be able to tell at a glance that these were issues that should have gotten remedied before launch? It's just weird to me, you know? And I really want to play more of this game because I definitely am leaning towards the idea that this game feels like it's milking the franchise for P5 especially, and I feel like we live in two realities here where it can absolutely be there to milk P5 for all it's worth, but it can also be a good game by itself. I think both things can be true, and I haven't gotten too far into the game, so I don't want to like recommend it or not recommend it yet, but it did take me a couple of hours to get really much, well, through the tutorials, and I imagine I still have a few left. I don't know if I would recommend this game at $60 myself. Maybe somewhere in the realm of $25 to $30 would be a little bit more preferable. Maybe wait for this game to go on a sale. But I don't know, this game could pick up immensely. But right now, I have it on PC Game Pass, so it's like whatever. And I've been enjoying myself with it. And I probably will continue to enjoy it. So right now, those are my initial thoughts on the PC port and the game overall. Let me know what you found. Let me know how far you got into the game, how much you've been enjoying it. Have you had any of these similar issues as myself? Have you had even more issues? Or do you think it's kind of like what I said, where you can, yeah, it may be a little bit weird that it's like this, but it doesn't compromise the underlying experience, which is like where I'm landing at right now as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions and hear your perspectives. Stay safe, have a great day. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when I upload and stream in the future. Bye bye everybody, until we meet again.